Hello, all my joyful creators and Longmire fans. Welcome to Funday Monday, part 18 of the Longmire Blanket. I am so tickled again about this last stitch. That is just a gorgeous stitch. I really fell in love with that stitch. Today, we are going to be introducing 6 new colors, and as you saw in the introduction, we had several friends who helped us pick those colors. So let's just go over those again real quick. So on the first color that was chosen was by Miss Roseann, and she chose color number 2 on my chart. That is the minty green. Then the next color, color number 2, was chosen by Jen Reeves, and she chose colorway number 7, which on my chart is the real teal. The third color was chosen by Anna with GrandmaAnna, and she chose color number 3, which is cherry red on my chart. And then the next color was chosen by Char-lee Berry, and she chose for color number 4, the 11, which on my color chart is white. And then Viola chose color number 5, and she chose color number 12, which on my chart is purple. And then the last color chosen, which was color number 6, was by Roseann again, and that color on my chart is peach. Now, if you'll remember, at the end of our last section, when I counted 154 stitches across after doing the cluster stitches, the texture cluster stitches. And so I told you that we would be able to fix that, and we can. So no need to worry about that. So whatever count you counted, if it's less than 158, hopefully it's only, a few stitches like mine is, then I'm going to show you how to incorporate stitches so that we can get back up to that 158 count. Okay, I know that sometimes when you're doing textured stitches like this, or different stitches within a pattern, that sometimes that can happen, but those are easy quick fixes, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So I have already gone ahead and joined my new color, and again, the first color we're doing is colorway number 2, and for me that's the minty green. You're going to join your color, chain 1, and turn your work. If you need to pause the video to get caught up, go ahead and do so. You should have your new color joined, and before we get started, I just want to point out that the front side of your work should be facing for this row. We are starting with row 101. We will be doing 2 rows with this minty green. So we will be doing rows 101 and 102 in this color, and the only thing we're going to do with these 2 rows is use single crochet stitches. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to work my tails in as I go, as I have been throughout the process of this blanket. So let's just go ahead and get some of these single crochets worked in, and then I will get them trimmed off and out the way, and then we can talk a little bit more, and I can show you how to add those extra stitches in if you need to do so. So right now I'm just quickly working over these tails so that I can go through that demonstration. I'm going to give that a little bit of a tug. That's a good amount worked in there, so I'm going to go ahead and trim off this excess. Now you're just doing these single crochet stitches right in the tops of these clustered texture stitches that you did on the previous row. So you do want to make sure when you're at the end of this first row, which is 101, that you have a total of 158 stitches. So I know that for my blanket, I need to add 4 extra stitches somewhere across this blanket. It doesn't matter how far apart they are when you do it, as long as you get the number count back up. I do try to space them out. So I've got a good bit of stitches already worked on here. So I'm going to go ahead and add the first stitch. So when I go to do the single crochet into this next stitch, I'm just going to go right back into it and add a second single crochet. And then if I work down my blanket several stitches before doing it again, that will also help keep the blanket from kind of bunching up. Because if you put too many stitches in, as you know, when we did this one here, it creates a shell. But see, if you look at this, you can't even tell where I have added that single crochet stitch. Now it does look a little funny coming off the top of these textured stitches, and that's why we're going to add a second row of single crochet in this color. So let me go ahead and work a few more, and then I will add in that next extra stitch before we pause and continue working the rest of this row. All right, let me slide this down. All right, so I have worked a good bit from that last time I added an extra stitch. So I'm going to go ahead right here into this very next single crochet and work 1 single crochet, and I'm going to go right back into the same stitch and add 1 more single crochet, and that picks up my second extra stitch that I need to add in. So go ahead and pause the video, work all the way across this row, working a single crochet into each stitch, working 2 into 1 stitch for however many extra stitches you need to add, so that at the end of this row we have a total of 158 single crochets. Then chain 1, turn your blanket. You will then work on the wrong side of the blanket, and you will single crochet all the way back across. When you get to the end of row 102, go ahead and fasten off your color, and then you're going to go ahead and join the next color, which again will be color number 7. And I will meet back with you there. Welcome back. We have now completed rows 101 and 102, working a single crochet stitch across both those rows, giving us the foundation row that we're going to need to introduce the next stitch, which is going to be the remainder of this section. And so today we are going to introduce what is considered the chevron stitch. So it's going to give our blanket a little bit of a zigzag pattern. Now, that pattern is normally worked in 12 multiples of 12 stitches, and if you're starting your blanket out and doing just a chevron blanket, you would do a multiple of 12 stitches plus 2 to be your starting chain. Now, since we are doing it in a blanket that is already established, we need to do multiples of 12. 12 goes into 158 13 times with 2 stitches remaining. So we have to incorporate 1 stitch on each end of our blanket from the pattern in order to maintain our 158 stitches. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So I ask you to go ahead and fasten off that second color, which was the first color we've used today, number 2 color. Before we came back on, join your new color, and you need to chain 1. So if you've not already done so, because I don't believe I told you how many chains to do at the end, we'll be doing chain 1s throughout the rest of this section today. Go ahead and chain 1, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with row 103, introducing the chevron stitch. Now, the chevron stitch is a combination of what they call valleys and peaks, and it will create like a zigzag pattern on our blanket. The chevron stitch is worked in a multiple of 12 stitches plus 2. So we have 158 stitches, 12 will go into 158 13 times, giving us 156, which is perfect because then we have 2 stitches remaining, and that would give us our plus 2 stitches that we need. So we will have a total of 13 of our peaks and valleys going across our blanket. So let's go ahead and get started creating our chevron stitch. Again, I'm going to work across my tails as I go. So right here we've got the chain 1 on our hook. That's going to count as our first single crochet. And so we're going to do 2 single crochets right into this very first stitch. 1 and 2. And now we're going to start the chevron stitch, and we're going to work towards a valley first. So in order to do that, we're going to do a single crochet 1 time in each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we have to create our first valley. And in order to do that, we're going to do what's called a 3 single crochet decrease. And to do that, you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop. That gives you 2 loops on the hook. Insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop. That gives you 3 loops on the hook. Insert your hook into the very next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. That gives you 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 4. And you have just created your first valley. Can't really see it right now, but you will as we go along. Now we need to start working towards our first peak. And in order to do that, we're going to do a single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to stop for just a quick minute, give those tails a tug, and I'm going to go ahead and trim off what's left. And now we're ready to do our first peak. And to do a peak, we're going to do 3 single crochets right into this next stitch. So 1, go right back into the same stitch and do 2, and go right back into the same stitch and do 3. And we have now completed the first chevron, and this is our repeat pattern. So again, you can't really see it right now, but as we get going, you will start to see it. So let's go ahead and do this together again. Let's work towards our valley. We're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And again, to do our valley, we're going to do a 3 single crochet decrease. Going to insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, 4 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through all 4. Perfect. Now we're going to start towards the peak again. So we're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now it's time to do a peak again. So we're going to do a single crochet 3 times into this next stitch. And once again, that is our repeat pattern. Now you should start to kind of see your blanket forming that chevron stitch. And so let's go over. Our 12 stitch repeat count is our 4 stitches that go into the valley. That's 4. Then the valley is made over 3 single crochets. That is 7. Then when you do 4 single crochets to go up towards the peak, 7 plus 4 is 11. And then you do 3 single crochets in the 1 stitch to create the peak, and 11 plus 1 is 12. So that's your 12 stitch repeat. I'm going to do it with you one more time. So we've just completed our last peak, and now we're going to work towards the valley. So we're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to create our valley by doing a 3 single crochet decrease. Insert your hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop. Insert into the next, pull up a loop, insert into the next, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 4. And working towards the peak, we're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to do our peak. And we're going to do 3 single crochets into that 1 stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And that's our repeat pattern. And you should start, your blanket should start to kind of be creating this little wonky effect. We want it to do that. That's a good thing. That's getting our chevron stitch going. So go ahead and pause the video and work this repeat pattern of 12 stitches all the way down until you get to the last remaining 6 stitches. And then I will meet up with you and show you how to finish off the row and begin the next row. In the last 6 remaining stitches, work a single crochet in each of the next 5 stitches and 3 single crochet in the last stitch to create your final peak for this row. Chain 1, turn your blanket, and I will meet back up with you to begin row 104. Okay, so now to begin row 104, we are going to skip the first single crochet, and we're going to go right into this next single crochet, and we're going to do 2 single crochets in that 1 stitch. And now we're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches, and we are working towards our first valley. And 3 and 4. And now we are going to work our first valley right here over the same valley that we did on the previous row. So insert your hook, insert your hook, insert your hook, and pull through all 4. And you're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now right here in the top of the peak from the last row, we're going to work 3 single crochets in that stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now you can really start to see how that is creating. Of course, that's teal on teal, so there you go. So now let's start working towards our next valley. We're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to work our valley, a 3 single crochet decrease. And pull through all 4, and I'll do one more with you. We're going to do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 single crochets into the next stitch to form our peak. And then a single crochet into the next 4 stitches to work towards our valley. And then we're going to create our valley with a 3 single crochet decrease. And do a single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 3 single crochets into the next stitch to create our peak. And you can now see how we are getting our chevron rippled effect. So go ahead and pause the video and work all the way down to the end. Remember, when you get all the way, just repeating the pattern just like we did on the last row, when you get all the way down to the last stitch, you're going to end by doing 3 single crochets in the very last stitch. Go ahead and fasten off, and you can go ahead and join your new color. The next color that we are going to be working with is the color that you have in your number 3 slot. And for me, that's going to be cherry red. And I will meet back with you. Welcome back. Now that you've completed rows 103 and 104 with your color number 7, go ahead and repeat rows 103 and 104 with color number 3. Here's a look at the blanket with the next strip added on in the number 3 color, which for me again is red. And so the next color that we will be adding is color number 11, which for me will be white. And again, you'll continue to repeat the same 2 rows, always remembering that on the very ends you'll add that 1 extra single crochet. So after you chain 1 and do 2 single crochets into the first stitch, You'll then do 5 single crochets, then do your 3 single crochet decrease for your valley, and then your 4 single crochets going up, 3 in the 1 single crochet to create your peak. And then when you get down to the end of the blanket and you've created your last valley, you will then do 4 single crochets to go towards the peak, but you'll add that extra single crochet, so that'll give you 5, and then you'll end with 3 single crochets in the very last stitch to create a peak. And so you will continue doing that with the next color. So I'm going to go ahead and get my white attached, and I will add that row, and then I'll come back and show you that row before I add the next row, which will be purple in the number 12 slot and then peach in the number 6 slot. Here we are with the next color added on, and this is what our little blanket pattern is starting to create. And you can see where our single crochets that we did in the very first 2 rows, rows 101 and 102, have taken on that chevron look as well. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add the next color, which will take us to rows 109 and 110. Those will be done in the colorway number 12, which for me is purple. And I will meet back up with you after I do my 2 rows of purple. We've added the colorway number 12, and we are down to our last color, and we'll now be adding the colorway that's in our number 6, which for me will be peach. And these last 2 rows will end this section. And so we are now going to work rows 111 and 112. So I will meet up with you when you finish those 2 rows. Here we are with the last color added on. So this is our section for today. And I definitely think it brings some character to the blanket. Well, this has been Funday Monday, part 18 of the Longmire Blanket. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Until then, be joyful, stay crafty in your own way, and make your own joyful creations.